Well, hello everybody, how are you doing this fine day? I hope you're enjoying your week. Welcome to another survival challenge. Again. I gotta make these things again. I'm gonna be making this shit till I fucking die. I'm gonna try really hard to make this as quickly as humanly possible because I gotta take a shit. And once I go in that bathroom, I'm not coming back out. I'm gonna be in that bitch all day. If you didn't watch the original Bully Survival Challenge, I'm probably gonna put a link somewhere on the video if I feel like it. If I don't feel like it, it's not gonna be there. But if it is there, click on it and it's gonna tell you everything you need to know about the challenge currently, because I don't feel like repeating myself. But that's enough wasting your time. Let's get started. First up on the block that chops is Kick-Ass from the beloved children's film Finger Bang. Originally, Kick-Ass was just a fucking loser who really liked comic books and superheroes, despite the fact that he looked like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't know what fucking world he lives in where that's what a loser looks like, but okay. Man's got like a fucking 9-pack. And one day, out of absolutely nowhere, he decided that he wanted to be a superhero. Is it because his family was brutally murdered by the mob? Was his brother killed by a random shooting? What was this horrible thing that happened that made him want to become a superhero? That pushed him forward and gave him the will to put his life in danger for the greater good of humanity? Nothing. He just thought it was cool. Okay. Oh, he went online and he bought a scuba suit and some sticks and then decided to go out and fight crime. And he realized very, very quickly he fucking sucks at it. He got his ass throttled. They beat this man like a Middle Eastern wife. But instead of becoming a cripple, which is what really should have happened, instead he got a sort of kinda minor superpower. Basically all his nerves were fucked up and they had to put a bunch of pipes and rods in his body, and now he doesn't really feel pain or take damage in the same way that normal people do. According to him, he still feels pain, it's just very numb compared to what he used to feel. So it's like a kinda, sorta, maybe superpower, but not really. I'm sorry guys, I'm in a weird mood today. For the last 2 weeks I've been having these throat problems, and every time I raise my voice it feels like a fucking grenade is going off in my throat. So I've been holding back a lot in these videos, which I feel like has lowered the energy levels and just general enjoyment factor of the videos. And you know what? I'm tired of that. So for the people, I have decided to fight through it and give you guys the video you deserve, even if it burns a hole through my fucking neck or gives me like throat cancer or something. That's how people get throat cancer, right? That's where that comes from. But what would happen if you were to take Kick-Ass and throw him into Bulworth Academy? And there's really no nice way of saying this. He is going to get fucked up. And the reason for that is pretty simple. This dude can't fight. Like, he can't fight at all. He does get a little bit of training from Hit Girl in the second movie, but both movies make it very clear he's like the normal guy. He can't fight at all in the first movie and spends every fight he gets into just getting fucked up. And in the second movie, even though he gets a little bit of training and he improves a little bit, he's really just pulled along through the story by characters who are considerably better than he is. Like Big Daddy, like Hit Girl, like Soldier Jim Carrey, whose name I'm forgetting. Colonel Stars and Stripes, is that his name? I think that's his name. Or is that the name of that bitch from My Hero Academia? I don't remember. Anyway, fucking Jim Carrey. Point is that a theme in these movies is that he could not possibly survive against anything he goes up against without the help of these far superior people. And considering that Bulworth Academy has several fighters in the school who could take on 10, 15, 20 other dudes without really any issues, shows pretty clearly Kick-Ass don't stand a chance here. He's gonna get bullied and beat down the moment he gets to this school. And if he wants to do the whole Kick-Ass thing and get dressed up in his little fucking scuba suit with his little sticks and try to go fight these people, he's gonna get his ass kicked. Then they're gonna remove his mask, he's gonna be outed as Kick-Ass, and they're just gonna make fun of him some more. Kick-Ass sucks. There's literally nothing he can do. He would be basically just as useless as all of the other sort of nerdy kids that are in the school that are constantly beat on by the bullies of that school. Remember, in Bulworth Academy, all the bullies are like trained fighters and martial artists and inhumanly tough. This is a wash. There's nothing Kick-Ass can do. He wouldn't even be valuable enough to join any of the cliques. They wouldn't want him. Next up, we have Alex DeLarge from A Clockwork Orange, who would very easily be the most fucked up dude in this school. I know the game always talks about how Bulworth is the worst school in the entire country, but this must exist in some kind of fucking fantasy world because the school's actually not that bad. There are no students dealing drugs in the school, nobody's shooting each other, there's no risk of murder or any real over-the-top or fucked up crime going on within the school. It's really just a bunch of rowdy it's really just a bunch of rowdy boys getting into fistfights all the time. Pretty fucking tame, I would say, for the American school system. Alex, on the other hand, is a gang leader who is a rapist and murderer, and he really enjoys doing both of those things. Him being thrown in Bullworth Academy would introduce something into the school that they've never had to deal with. While I absolutely believe that there are certain characters in Bullworth Academy that would probably become pretty similar to what Alex is, like, Gary is clearly a psychopath, and when he gets older, he will very likely become a murderer or serial killer of some kind. He's not in the game. Alex already is. So I'm not 100% sure of how he will be able to influence the school as a whole. Will they completely reject his super fucking evil lifestyle, or will he actually be able to influence some of the bullies in that school to go an even farther with all of their messed up sort of shit that they do? Basically, would introducing a legitimate gang leader and violent psychopath into a school with like regular bullies possibly influence those bullies into also becoming murderers and rapists and things like this because they're already kind of going down that path? Or is that just a totally different thing where even those bullies are going to be like, yeah, we're not that fucked up, this dude's a problem? And I think it's way more likely that they will completely reject Alex, because that's kind of what bully is all about. Jimmy Hopkins is not a good person, not really, but he is sort of like a peace creating force within the school. Everybody's constantly fighting and warring and hates on each other. Jimmy shows up, he beats the crap out of all of them, tells them to behave themselves, and throughout the story of the game, you sort of start to realize that a lot of these bullies are not bad people, they're just misunderstood, or they have something going on in their own lives that are making them lash out at other people. The only truly evil character in the entire game is Gary. Creating peace within the school was only possible once Gary was expelled, because he was just this shit starter who likes control and the suffering of other people. But he's the only person like that. Alex is the same way to a more extreme extent, but unlike Gary, who is an incredibly skilled manipulator, Alex is never shown to have that kind of ability. Everything he does is very much out in the open. He's a leader of a gang who freely travels around his city, beating up homeless people, breaking into people's houses, raping women, and doing all sorts of evil shit whenever he wants to do it without any fear at all that anyone could really stop him. And I think that if he shows up at Bullworth Academy and starts doing that shit, a lot of even the worst people in Bullworth Academy are going to have a very serious problem with it. For instance, it's not possible in this game to hurt women. You can't do it as Jimmy, you can't physically hurt a woman, and none of the actual bad characters, even Gary, none of them at any point hurt or mess with any woman. Now, the girls will mess with each other, but the boys won't mess with the girls. This makes me believe that there's the unspoken law that exists between pretty much all men, that if you fuck with a woman, you're gonna run into some fucking problems. I mean, even in prison, if you go to prison for hurting women or children, all of the murderers and psychos that are in the prison will turn on you and fuck you up. Because it's just a rule. You don't do that. And Alex does not follow that rule. Alex will absolutely start doing some really fucked up shit in this school. And unlike Gary, who could do this fucked up shit and kind of get away with it because, again, master manipulation, Alex doesn't have that ability. I don't think he's going to be able to get many people on his side to join his gang. I don't think that he's going to be able to have that much influence on anybody. So it's really just going to be up to if he can overcome other people in a fight. And when it comes to Bullworth, not really. I mean, he can fight. Like, we see Alex fight in gangs and against other gangs, and he can fight. He even beats up all of his own droogs, which he has like 3 or 4 droogs, and by himself he beats them up. He pulls out a knife, he cuts them because he doesn't like that they're starting to like disrespect him and not listen to him, right? So he does have some kind of combat ability, but it doesn't come anywhere near the biggest guys in Bullworth. I mean, there's a big difference between surprise attacking 3 dudes when they're not expecting it and standing face to face against 10 dudes who are coming at you trying to beat the shit out of you and just taking them all on and winning. He doesn't have that level of skill. And I think just because of the nature of who Alex is as a person, he's gonna start problems with characters like Johnny, who actually really values respect and honor. And Alex is just gonna have a really rough time at this school. And I'm actually using the more tame version of Alex from the movies. If you take the version of Alex from the books, oh man, he is way worse. For instance, if you've seen A Clockwork Orange, the movie, remember the scene where he picks up the 2 girls in the arcade and then he brings them home and he has sex with them? That happens in the book too. Except in the book, Those girls are like 11. Alex is an absolute irredeemable scumbag, and I think that every person in Bullworth is gonna know it. He's gonna get his ass beat constantly. He's probably gonna get arrested, and he will not last long at Bullworth whatsoever. Next up on the list, we have Wayne from Not Batman. This one to me is probably the most interesting one because of the type of person that Wayne is. He's not really a character. I mean, he is, but he's also kind of like a force of nature. So Wayne's whole thing is that he's a high school kid who really, really hates wrongdoings. Basically, he has a very strict code of conduct, and if you step on that code of conduct, no matter what, he's going to fuck you up. He doesn't care about the consequences. He doesn't care about what your reasons or excuses for the wrongdoings are. He's going to come after you, and he's going to beat your ass with a bike chain. In his series, this has made him the most feared person in his entire school because literally no one can fight against him. Everyone avoids him like the plague, and they know that if Wayne's there, they need to behave themselves because he'll beat the living shit out of them. It doesn't matter how many of them there are or how tough they think they might be. Wayne doesn't care. And Wayne can take an insane level of ass beatings and still keep coming after you. He's not even limited by the area of the school. He's been known to track people to their houses, break in their house, and beat the shit out of them in the comfort of their own home. And because of the way he is, it's going to make his interactions with other people in the school very interesting. Like I said before, a big part of the game of Bully is Jimmy Hopkins basically coming to the realization that a lot of these bullies are not actually bad people. Johnny's not a bad person, he's just insecure and jealous. Biff isn't a bad person, he's just someone who used to be very weak and was bullied himself. And then when he became strong, he turned into the bully as a way of sort of protecting himself. Russell's not a bad guy, he's just kind of dumb, and he's not aware that what he's doing is actually hurting other people. One by one, you get to know all of the bullies, and you start to realize that they all have their own shit going on, and none of them are really just straight up bad people. Now, for real life, I don't think this works. I think there are actually just bad people. I've been on the bullied side and the bully side. Trust me. A lot of times, people just find it funny and entertaining that other people are suffering. It's not always how Hollywood likes to portray it, where actually they get beat up at home a lot. Sometimes they're just assholes. But in Bully, this is the case. Most of the bullies, with the exception of Gary, have deep-seated flaws that make them bullies. And Jimmy's ability to see this and talk to these people and come to an understanding with these people is what allows there to be peace in Bullworth Academy. Well, in this challenge, Jimmy's not there. This is going to be Wayne. And Wayne doesn't give a shit about your reasons. Wayne is not an understanding person. If you do some shit that breaks on his code, if he sees you messing with someone, bullying someone, treating someone like shit, disrespecting someone, he's gonna come at you, he's gonna beat the living crap out of you, and whatever emotional disturbances you're having that's causing you to be this bully, he doesn't care. He's not going to care at all, which means unlike Jimmy, he's not going to be able to bring peace to the school. And while Wayne's method worked in striking fear into his own school, because he's basically like a teenage Batman, it's not going to be nearly as effective in Bullworth, where everybody can fight really well. In fact, Wayne might not even be the best fighter at the school. Now, don't get me wrong, Wayne is an amazing fighter. He can take a beating, and like I said, there's virtually no one in his own show that actually stands a chance against him. There's really only one person, and that is not a high school student. It's like a grown-ass man he ends up fighting towards the end of season 1. Before that, every single person he comes across, he fucks up pretty badly. But when he sees a lot of the students in Bullworth doing the things that they normally do, and he is bound by his code to go and mess them up, he might not actually win those fights. It's not gonna be this teenage boy power fantasy like his show is. He's actually going to have a serious issue with fighting a lot of these people. And many of these people are in cliques that are basically just gangs where they can outnumber him and overcome him. And the biggest problem that Wayne's gonna have with this is that Wayne is a fucking weirdo. Wayne doesn't know how to function in normal society with normal people. A very big part of his character is that he doesn't like large groups. He doesn't really like people. He doesn't really like interacting with other people. Every time he's in a normal school function or around large groups of normal people, he's clearly uncomfortable and doesn't really know how to talk to them. He's extremely awkward and kind of hard to be around because of just how adamant he is to following his code, to the point that he sort of forced into being a lone wolf throughout the entirety of the first season of the show, which also happens to currently be the only season of the show, and will likely always be the only season of the show. This is so annoying. So this show is really, really good. Like, I really like this show. It came on YouTube Red in 2019, and then when YouTube Red shut down, Amazon Prime bought the rights to the show and then started airing season 1 on their own platform. This was back in like 2020 or 2021 or something like that, but Prime since then has neither announced its cancellation or a renewal of a second season, despite the fact that everyone involved with the show keeps saying that they want to make a second season. I don't know what's going on. Look, I get that it's been a long time now and they're probably not making a season 2, but the fact that Prime refuses to give anybody closure by actually saying that it's canceled is super annoying to me. It's a really solid season of television, and I guess it kind of works as a standalone with just one season, but I would still like the closure of Prime actually announcing whether or not it's canceled, because this shit's been up in the air for like 3 or 4 years. So what do I think will happen if they take Wayne and they shove him into Bullworth Academy? Well, right off the bat, he's gonna start problems. Literally the first person he sees who breaks his code, he's gonna get into a fight. And he's gonna do very well at the start because he will be one of the best fighters in the school. He's also far more brutal than anybody in Bullworth. Like, just to give you an example, at one point he gets a job of construction. He stands in front of a Home Depot, or like a legally different version of Home Depot, and then gets picked up by this guy, and they pick up a bunch of other Hispanic men, and then they go off and they do this construction thing, right? When the construction thing is over, the boss who hired them takes all of the Hispanic guys and drives away. Wayne then finds out that the guy's got this con going where he picks up a bunch of Hispanic guys out in front of Home Depot, has them work for him for a couple of days, and then when it's over, instead of paying them, he brings them to immigration and has them imported as a way to saving money on labor. When Wayne finds out about this, he follows the van, finds them, pulls the guy out of his car, and nails his hands to the side of his van. He literally crucifies him. Now, he doesn't kill him, but damn. And there's a lot of scenes like this. He'll beat people up with baseball bats, burn them on the covers of stoves. He's not a murderer, but he gets pretty damn close. And him behaving in this way is gonna make him a target for the gangs in Bullworth really, really fast. And when that inevitably happens, it's gonna put him in the crosshairs of some of the best fighters in the school. And against those fighters, it's not guaranteed that he's going to win like it is against all of the people in his own show. He actually might get his ass kicked a lot. Now, he'll never give up, and he'll keep coming back no matter how many times they beat him up. And no one in Bullworth Academy is ever gonna kill him, because nobody's murderers here. But he will be stuck in a perpetual fight with all of the bullies of the school, just constantly, all the time. And I don't see any end to it. Because unlike Jimmy, he's not the type of character that can change someone's heart and change someone into a better person. He just solves all of his problems with violence. And in Bullworth, that's how everybody solves their problems. That's sort of the norm. Now, one cool thing I will say that I'll give him credit for is that Gary's whole taking over the school plan that he had in the bully game is not going to work here. His plan was only possible because he was able to manipulate Jimmy into doing things that helped him take over the school. Jimmy, being a guy that's not inherently against bullying, because he kind of is sort of a bully himself, he looked past a lot of the really messed up stuff that Gary did, like the way he treats a lot of people around him and things like this. Wayne will not be able to be manipulated like Jimmy was, and Wayne will not tolerate Gary's behavior. So he will absolutely fight Gary constantly and probably kick the shit out of him. Gary's actually a pretty decent fighter. He can even fight one-on-one with Jimmy Hopkins. So Gary might actually beat Wayne. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Flip a coin with that one, because Gary doesn't fight that often. You only fight him once in the whole game, but he's the last boss of the game. So it should be assumed he's probably the best fighter. So I think it's definitely possible that Wayne won't be able to overcome him. But he also won't be manipulated by him, and he'll see through all of his Machiavellian take over the school bullshit plans. So yeah, what's going to happen with Wayne when he enters Bullworth? He's going to be in a perpetual, constant fight with all of the bullies, just forever until graduation or some shit. Because he's never going to completely overcome them to the point that they're just terrified of him, like the bullies were in his own school. And he's never going to back down and stop standing up for what he believes in. So yeah, just perpetual violence forever. Last up, but certainly not least, we have Wednesday Addams from anything Addams family related. There are so many different versions of this character that I can use basically any of them. The one that makes the most sense, because the only one that's actually in high school, is the new Wednesday show that's on Netflix. And welcome to the segment of the video video where I get to bitch about shit. I don't like this version of Wednesday. I don't think that this is Wednesday. I think this is some random goth bitch that they threw in a show and called Wednesday. She doesn't act anything like Wednesday, and they removed all parts of Wednesday Addams that I recognize as Wednesday Addams. So, nope, not using her. I'm gonna use the version that I know of. But let me shit on the Netflix show for a little bit before I do that. I really hated this version of Wednesday. Like, what the fuck were they thinking? Every single thing that you think of when you think of Wednesday Addams is completely absent in this character. Like, there's a whole subplot that runs through the first season of this show that's about her basically preaching to the audience about how it was wrong that the settlers came in and killed the Native Americans. Like, she starts arguing for reparations and shit in the show. You could not pick a worse character to do this. You do know that Wednesday Addams' dream job is to become a serial killer, right? That's what she wants to do when she grows up. She has attempted murdered so many people. In the first Addams Family movie with Christina Ricci, she spent the whole movie trying to kill a baby. This is not the character to push a political message about the Native Americans being wronged. And yes, in Addams Family Values, she does a play where she talks about the Native Americans being wronged by the settlers. Sure, but she's not preaching what's right or wrong. She's supposed to do a play of the first Thanksgiving dinner, the super like sanitized version, and then she decides to make it as fucked up as humanly possible. That fits her character. Fighting against oppression doesn't at all. The other major plot they gave her is her like really bad relationship with her family. She doesn't like anyone in her family. And honestly, this is probably the worst thing they did, even worse than the oppression shit. Because if there's anything you could say about the Addams family, it's that they really love their family. Family comes first. That's one of the things that you like when you watch the Addams family, because even though they're super twisted and messed up, their family's probably better than yours. The love and admiration they have for one another is something that is super admirable. So having her just not like anyone in her family is bullshit, and it's a betrayal of the character. Also, they made all the dudes in their family suck. I know a lot of people complain about Gomez Addams because of the casting. I actually don't mind the casting too much. Like, we've had short, fat versions of Gomez Addams. They're not always Raul Julia, so that doesn't bother me too much. But what does bother me is his obsession with his wife doesn't seem to be reciprocated, which annoys me a lot. Gomez and Morticia is about as healthy a relationship as you could possibly have. These two absolutely adore one another. They can't live without each other. They don't like not being near each other. They are each other's obsession. And it makes the relationship really nice and sweet to watch. Again, despite the fact that they're both kind of messed up people. But in this show, Gomez seems like that towards her, but she doesn't really seem to care all that much. He's like her plaything, kind of. I didn't feel the same thing coming from her to him. So it just seemed one-sided, and it was weird. Also, Pugsley is like this little fat loser who keeps getting picked on by people at school, and he's scared of everything, and he's shy, and it's like, what the fuck did y'all do to Pugsley? Pugsley's supposed to be dumb, but he's not a loser. And no normal bully could possibly bully Pugsley. He is a super strong, basically unkillable being. I mean, Wednesday always experiments on him. She's electrocuted him. She's dropped him off the top of the house. She's blown him up. And no matter what she does, he's fine. He's dumb and he just goes with it, but he can't really be bullied. He's too dumb to be bullied. And he's also way too powerful. So right at the start of the season, when we see that Pugsley's this little loser kid being shoved into lockers by normal high school jock bullies, you call bullshit immediately. They shouldn't be able to do anything to Pugsley. And Pugsley's not going to be all scared and frightened of bullies. His sister tries to kill him on a daily basis. It's how they play and have fun with each other. I hate this show. Also, what's up with this romance they have in this show? Wednesday has multiple dudes in this show that like her. One is like some emo artist, like, okay. And the other one's like this normal dude who works at a coffee shop who's like the stereotypical nice guy. And then, you know, plot twist, he's not actually a nice guy. But that didn't make any sense to me. Wednesday is a fucking weirdo. Like, she's really odd, and normal people would not be attracted or appealed to her at all, even if her body is that of Jenna Ortega. Again, she wants to be a serial killer. They also gave the character a romantic relationship in Addams Family Values, which, okay, fine, yeah. but the relationship they gave her was of a really weird kid who was antisocial and didn't like anybody. It makes sense that Wednesday would gain a crush on some weird, ugly, strange dude. Not some pretty boy that you would see in the originals or some other bullshit CW show. Whoever Wednesday Addams does start a relationship with, he should be very strange. He probably isn't gonna be all that good looking. And he's just gonna be a freak. Because that's the whole thing about Addams Family. God, this show frustrates me so much because I like the Addams Family. I like Wednesday Addams. Now, let me be clear. I like Jenna Ortega in the role. I think she acts it well. And I respect her for standing up to the writers when they went too far on changing her character. Because I did hear stories that there was a lot of stuff they wanted to do and she said, no, absolutely not. Wednesday wouldn't do that. And okay, good for her. I'm happy she did that. But I mean, they still butchered her and many other characters within the Addams Family series. So thank you, Ms. Ortega. It is appreciated, but it wasn't enough to save the character. So having said all that, how would the real Wednesday do if she went to Bulworth Academy? And this is kind of boring and weird, and yeah, I get it. It really doesn't work putting female characters in Bulworth Academy because the dudes and the bullies and shit, they don't mess with the women. None of them do. So they're not really gonna have a problem with her, and I don't think that Wednesday Addams is really gonna care about bullying all that much. So she's not even gonna really care to stop it. Now, if they did try to attack her, she'd kick all their asses. Wednesday Addams is not a human character. She is unnaturally talented at combat, much like her father is, and knows basically any way that she needs to kill someone. Now, she usually doesn't kill people because when she tries, it's usually on family members and they're basically unkillable. But if she wanted to kill all the bullies, she could. And it would cause untold joy inside of her heart, but she would never show it because Wednesday doesn't smile. But yeah, in all honesty, if you sent Wednesday Addams to Bulworth, she'd probably get messed with by the girls. She would very easily overcome the girls. She'd probably fuck them up pretty bad. Not physically, but through like really weird, strange, slapsticky kind of dark ways that you would think Addams Family would overcome issues. Like, she's not just gonna go and punch them in the face, right? That's what Jimmy Hopkins would do, or Wayne would do. She's a little more clever with her revenge and cruelty. And it would basically lead to her dominating the school, but specifically over the girls. Because again, I don't see any of the guys messing with her. They never do throughout the course of the entire game. So I don't see why they would make an exception for her. Honestly, I think she would get along with a lot of the bullies, especially Gary. Actually, it would make more sense for Wednesday Addams to start up a relationship with someone as messed up as Gary than it is the freaking pretty boys she did in the season 1 of Wednesday. I would watch that show. The sociopathic Wednesday Addams going on dates with the psychopathic Gary. That is some shit I would like to see. And you want to know something fucked up? That is some shit the Wednesday Addams show should have been, but they robbed us of it. Those pieces of shit. But that's going to be all from me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and join the membership. Remember, if you join the membership, you get videos early. And don't forget about the stream every Saturday at 7 p.m. CST, that's Central Standard Time, where you can come in and have conversations with me and everybody else and join the voice chat and talk and debate and do all kinds, just hang out and party every single weekend. Yeah. And always remember, y'all stay safe out there, you hear?